HBO's The Sopranos is iconic.
How you doing?
The TV show has so many incredible characters and endless amount of quotable dialogue.
It's the jacket!
The jacket.
The jacket.
However, with so much good stuff, there are bound to be things that stay hidden. Details, characters, and scenes that deserve more time in the spotlight.
You shot my foot!
It happens.
And in this video, I'm going to showcase a few of these through 4 different perspectives. I'm not saying that you will agree with everything. Actually, I would be surprised if you do. But by the end, you might find yourself looking at The Sopranos in a way you never have before.
I don't understand this at all.
Making his first appearance at the end of season 2, there was something instantly different about Patsy Parisi. He wasn't like the other mobsters. He wore glasses, never smoked cigarettes or cigars. He was one of the few who seemed to be in good physical shape, and he actually talked about his feelings.
Don't it happen that identical twins, a lot of times, they'll die within a couple of days of each other?
That would have been okay with me, believe me.
Hey, look at these.
But don't let that seemingly innocent appearance fool you.
Who the fuck are you? Ralph Bunch over here!
The hit taken out on his twin brother is the reason Patsy has to move over to Tony's crew, and it's also the reason why this character becomes so fascinating. From the moment he almost kills Tony,
He's drunk.
all the way to their last scene together in the series.
No, don't.
Sit down.
And that's why I want to start by highlighting this moment.
You put your grief behind you. Let me hear you say it.
I put the grief behind me.
This is the conversation of peace between 2 characters that are pretty sure their secrets have been exposed. Patsy knows Tony ordered the hit on his brother, and Tony is pretty certain that Patsy is out for some sort of revenge. But what's interesting here is that despite them shaking hands on leaving the past behind them, throughout the show you are never actually sure if there ever was peace. And this is important for a number of different reasons.
You ought to bring him up to the house. You can hang out with AJ. We can get something to eat. They can go in the pool.
Even though he is listed as a supporting character all the way up to season 6 where he gets a more prominent role, Patsy has some of the most memorable scenes in the show. Him threatening Gloria is of course one of these.
Here's some standard operating procedure.
The reason why it has gained so much attention, I think, is because it comes out of nowhere. Patsy surprises us, the audience, with his raw, harsh language as much as he surprised Gloria, and it's just brilliant.
We understand each other? It won't be cinematic.
Another one is his beef with Christopher that once again showcases the brutal and badass nature of his personality.
That's right. That's right. You bastard.
Yeah, Patsy was just as much of a gangster as anyone else. Yet even though it wasn't always clear where his actual loyalties laid or exactly who he liked and trusted, he was an honest, good soldier that people listened to.
Jesus Christ. Home, was hoping you'd be here. I gotta tell you, you shouldn't go out and eat up there in Fairfield no more.
Unlike many others, he tended to keep quiet, speaking only when necessary. That restraint made people listen when he did speak, and made his rare, unexpected actions all the more memorable.
He's going to burn the way our ancestors did.
Go sit down, cupcake.
In the latter seasons, this combination of loyalty and quiet unpredictability not only made him likable and sympathetic to the viewers, but also positioned him as a kind of dark horse in the overall story. By the end of the series, his role had shifted dramatically from a grieving brother to someone deeply respected within the family. So much so that the compelling theory that he played a long game, waiting for the perfect moment to allegedly take Tony out, actually could have been the case. It would have made for an epic and I would argue deserved conclusion to Patsy's story, going full circle from pissing in his pool to delivering the final blow. In the end, Patsy is the perfect combination of great writing, memorable lines, and deeper themes of what you have to sacrifice in the world of the mob, which is something people perhaps wouldn't say for the next character I'm about to get into.
I feel like I only had one good scene, in all of Sopranos. Can you tell me what you think I think that scene is?
I guess outside the police station.
You realize what could have happened to you if we didn't have connections?
When you look at discussions about this show, AJ Soprano is often referred to as annoying and unlikable, to the point that even the creator of the series, David Chase, knows about it.
A lot of people fucking hate AJ.
However, for me personally, despite him being kind of negative, spoiled, and a very different type of character to everyone else in the series, I always found him more deep and definitely more important than people gave credit for. And the scene outside the police station is perhaps the best example of it.
So he shot you! You just gonna let him fucking get away with it? I told you that's my business, not yours!
You two guys were clicking.
It was crazy.
You were going crazy.
I don't know
that
what happened.
Stop crying. Stop crying.
It's a conversation that in a couple of minutes manages to tell the entire story of this relationship. It picks apart everything that AJ feels insecure about, his masculinity, his toxic family, his future, and most importantly, his father.
You don't know me. You don't know anything about me. You're a nice guy.
This also highlights why I think for many AJ was such a tough character to watch. He suffers like crazy, and at certain points it becomes uncomfortable. Of course, The Sopranos is literally a show about people making bad choices and having to suffer for it. Something that gets reflected in all the perspectives we have left in this video. But with AJ, it was always different. It was relatable on a level we never got with Tony, the other gangsters, and even the likes of Carmela or perhaps Jackie Jr. It was thoughts, perspectives, and emotions that I, as a teenager at the time when watching this, could easily see myself in.
Death just shows the ultimate absurdity of life.
What is this? Are you trying to get me to lose my temper because I'm about to put you through that goddamn window?
As he becomes a young adult, the show uses AJ to explore themes like depression, lack of direction, and searching for purpose, taking it really far. One connection I've always made about this poor kid goes back to something Tony says in the very first episode.
But lately I'm getting the feeling that I came in at the end. The best is over.
Beyond it being one of the most iconic pieces of dialogue in the entire show, strangely, the idea behind the words seems to resonate even more with AJ's journey. Think about it. If Tony looks at the world as if he showed up too late, what does that leave for AJ? If Tony thinks everything is already over, then what is AJ even supposed to inherit? What I'm getting at is that if Tony is having these thoughts, then it would reflect in the behavior he has towards his kids, and that's why this scene becomes so powerful.
You're not a kid anymore. You hear me? You gotta grow up.
It's the culmination of how a father's insecurities reflect in his child. Tony is constantly frustrated with AJ for not being like the other guy's sons, the ones who seem ready to step into the mob life. But at the same time, Tony doesn't actually want that life for him either. He wants AJ to be a quote-unquote man, but not that kind of man. And the problem is, as we see Tony discuss this over and over again in therapy, he doesn't even have a clear idea of what that means.
That's why I get mad at you. You know, I see myself in you.
Because on the flip side, Tony also resents his own father for everything that did make him that kind of man. The violence, the trauma, the hiding nature of any kind of real feelings.
I find I have to be the sad clown. Laughing on the outside. Crying on the inside. I feel exhausted just talking about it.
So ultimately, this makes AJ stuck in this impossible situation. He's being judged against a standard that Tony himself hates. He's supposed to live up to expectations that don't even make sense. And surprise, surprise, that's probably where AJ's insecurities are rooted.
AJ was trying so hard to understand the world and the universe.
Yeah.
And I don't understand why people didn't see that.
Season 5, Episode 11, called The Test Dream, is often cited as one of the show's strangest and most memorable episodes. But beyond its sheer creativity and its uncanny ability to capture the feeling and logic of dreams better than almost anything in film or television, I think it still doesn't get fully credit for what it actually achieves. So let's get into it.
What the fuck?
Dreams and movies are so close that you can go from right here in this room, bam, to, anyway.
Right, free association.
Yeah.
Like real dreams, the episode drifts between the familiar and the impossible. Real people, dead characters, invented scenarios, stitched together in ways that don't quite make sense. Dreams are messy, they're a swirl of thoughts, anxieties, memories, sometimes profound, sometimes ridiculous.
Well, this is real life.
No, it's not.
And yet, despite its quote-unquote impossible nature, David Chase and his team makes it feel uncannily real, while never letting you forget how artificial it is. The episode plays with that tension, finger guns replacing real ones. Or that brilliant moment where we accept Annette Bening as Finn's mother, only for Tony to lean over and say,
You're Annette Bening.
And
I thought so.
There is so much symbolism, like the horse representing Tony's many affairs. There are nods to The Godfather 2 and callbacks to earlier episodes. My favorite is when he tries to fire a gun, only to find the bullets have turned to something else. It's a perfect echo of earlier dialogue.
Midas in reverse here. Everything I touch turns to shit.
But underneath all the absurdity, there's a core driving the dream: guilt. Tony is wrestling with the decision of what to do about his cousin, Tony Blundetto, whether he has to kill him to prevent a larger war. That pressure bleeds into everything else: the affairs, the violence, the constant attention of his life. The dream becomes kind of emotional overflow, everything crashing together at once.
Over here.
However, perhaps the most significant part is when Tony finally wakes. There is nothing dramatic about it. He just gets up, grabs a bottle of water and a Toblerone from the minibar. Later, when Christopher tells him about his cousin's rampage, you get the sense that the dream has already made the decision for him. Not as some grand message, but as something more selfish. Like if someone is disturbing Tony's peace, even in his sleep, they've got to get out of his life. And that's why he later kills his cousin. Still, it shows how dreams linger, how they shape us even when they shouldn't. And by the end, with true Soprano style, the episode doesn't close on a big moment, but something small. A conversation about the neighbor's barking dog, and Tony almost like a child reaching out to Carmela for some sort of comfort. Somehow this strange, abstract experience pushes him to reconnect with the most important person in his life. Because as irrational as dreams are, they can still change how you feel when you suddenly awake.
Stop it. I'm serious. Is it light where you are yet?
It's an entire episode dedicated to the broken mind of Tony Soprano, his trauma, his thoughts, and his worries. Capturing that despite how much it takes on his soul, he never learns from his mistakes.
I get it!
Something that definitely can be found in perspective number 4.
Okay. Look. Now.
Fuck me!
Vito Spatafore was one of those typical Soprano characters. A good earner, a morally corrupt person only out for money and the thrill of being a criminal. But he had a secret that in the mob world would not be taken lightly. Throughout the last 2 seasons, this is what Vito's storyline is about, but not in the sense you might think. Even if this puts him in a quote-unquote sympathetic position, Vito was, in my eyes, always seen as a terrible person, and that only gets enhanced in his New Jersey storyline.
Vito?
He gets caught in the club and goes on leaving the mob life behind him. From one perspective, it looks like a happy ending for him. He could be his true self while living a normal American life without the stress and anxiety of everything from his past.
Hour and a half. Lunch.
Even when Vito finds a peaceful life away from crime, he can't adapt to ordinary work or the mundane rhythms of life outside the mob, and he feels inevitably pulled back to New Jersey. These characters are made for one thing, and it becomes undoubtedly clear when he crashes his car. Vito's arc highlights everything wrong with these men. Their twisted views on homosexuality, their lack of compassion, their rigid moral codes. It also underscores the tragic reality of the mob world. Real change is near impossible. Even when he seems to find freedom, Vito's flaws and his past catch up to him. Any sympathy we might have felt is shattered when he commits violence on his way back. And to drive this full circle, I want to connect the storyline to the show's ending and give you my opinion on it. Even years later, I still find it brilliant. The final scene captures everything David Chase wanted to convey about mob life. The complexity of family, the tension of Tony's mind, and the constant uncertainty. Watching Meadow try to park her car, listening to the normal conversation over dinner, you feel like something is about to happen. You can't relax, you never can. That's Tony Soprano's reality.
The more I was working with it, I started to hear one of the lyrics in that song, "The movie never ends, it goes on and on and on."
The music, the family, the fragile sense of a regular night, they all mirror Tony's existence, what it feels like every single second of the day. Like Vito, he's drawn to the criminal life, even if it gradually consumes him.
Tell Tony and Paulie, 3 o'clock.
If you like this video, I know this one will make your day even better. Thank you so much for staying until the end, and I wish you a great day.